Thank you. Yeah, hello everybody. First I have to tell you it's a really amazing event. It's a pleasure to be here and to see all these talks, because actually they show that with the topic that I'm going to show you in this talk, we are on the right track, because I already heard something about the digital transformation in the keynote yesterday. I heard about standardization in the last talk, and even with the core team telling us that we should go into just one direction, not 10 at the same time. So this talk will be about similar things, and you will hear similar stuff within this talk, but actually we will start with the government package, the next level. Today I heard it would have been better to call it, give it a different name, because actually it's not just about the government package, you will see it in the end. So let's see how it works out. My name is Joe Hasenau. I'm from the Cybercraft Media Manufactory in Klausthal-Zellerfeld, which is a very small town in the Upper Harz Mountain in Germany. My Twitter handle is Bunnyfield, which is actually not something to do with Playboy bunnies. It's a translation of my last name. So this is why the image is there, so that you all know. What I usually do is, in the meantime, we are working as a workbench for TYPO3 agencies, because actually we are not a very large company, so we don't have huge projects that we can handle on our own, but we do a lot of stuff for other companies who don't have the manpower or need special knowledge for the projects. So actually we are kind of advanced freelancer with a more company-like workflow. So one of my major tasks, and this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this talk today, is I'm working as a front-end and accessibility consultant at T-Systems in Germany, which is actually the in-house company doing all the IT and web and other stuff for the whole telecom in Germany. And we are doing a large portal there, and I will tell you about the accessibility problems we have with that as well. As already told, I'm the maintainer of several extensions, especially grid elements, currently themes, which will be used by a lot of people already, and a new one that I have been taking over a few months ago is Localization Manager. Maybe we can do something about that as well, but in another talk. I've written 2 books about TYPO3 and the themes as well, and we are organizing the User Experience Week, as already said in the introduction. What I will do for you today is we will have a history of the original government package, so that you can see how open source works and how things evolve over a longer time period and have to be picked up by other people to then push them again. We will talk about the business impact, because actually when I made the talk, it was not sure if it would be on the business or the future day, but still you will see some future impact on your business as well. We will talk about the goals for the TYPO3 Accessibility Distribution and the current state of the project and teams, which has changed actually completely just a few days before I came here, because we found out that some people in Italy are working on similar topics and that we should join forces. So I have to tell you something completely different what I actually wanted to do. And in the end, you will see how you can support the project. So let's start with a government package history. It all began in 2009, and there was a guy, Sascha Vorbeck, and maybe you can stand up, because actually I want to show you all the people who have been involved in this development process. He approached me in 2009 and said, hey, I'm working for the German Federal Office for Agriculture and Food, which is a short term, it's BLE, and we have a certain amount of money out of a famous thing called Konjunkturpaket 2 in Germany, which was actually a lot of money which has been invested by the German government to just push business in Germany. And this created the BLE project in the end. So he just came to me and said, can we do something about that? Can you do something about it? And I said, this is much too large for a small company like we are, so we have to talk with the right people about that topic. So we met at the conference in Frankfurt, and this was the first time that all the people who were involved in the development of the government package came together. And it took 2 years, correct me if I'm wrong, about 2 years, until it has been finally released. So there was a lot of money invested into development, not just accessibility, other parts as well. We have the file abstraction layer, which actually has been created for that project. It took even more than 2 years until it was really usable, but it's still available today and you can do a lot of things with that. The digital asset management as well, because they had a lot of different things to handle with files and images and stuff like that. It actually existed before, but it has been improved during this development phase. Then we had the index search, which has been improved a lot as well. And finally, the accessibility project. I think this was a major task of Patrick Brones, maybe you can stand up as well, which is T3 Batman, and he actually did most of the accessibility features in the TYPO3 backend of TYPO3 4.7, yeah, which was the first TYPO3 version implementing all these different accessibility features that are still available today, but maybe not used that much. And finally, the actual government package has been created, which looks like this. And I think it still looks like this today, which is a classic design. So the facts about the current version and even the same about the former version of the government package is it's focused on governmental websites because it has been created to show municipalities and other governmental institutions how they should create accessible content and how to use TYPO3 for that purpose. It was showcasing all the accessibility features of TYPO3 4.7 so that you can see what you can do with it, and it has a classic desktop design, which is still the case. It has been developed for TYPO3 4.7, and this is one of the drawbacks, it has been released as the official government package. Same problem as with the talk today. The naming just implements that most of the people think this is just for governmental institutions and not an accessibility package that I can use for almost everything. And actually I should use it because then I have an accessible website for whatever I want to do. And it has been maintained as one of several distributions, TYPO3 distributions. Now I didn't find it in the TR lately, but actually I think it should be still available as a distribution that you can install when you want to have a new TYPO3. So let's have a look at the legal situation, which is one of the major problems you have to tackle when you deal with accessibility issues. There's one very important sentence. It has been formulated by the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and they say persons with disabilities have the rights to access the digital environment to the same extent as anyone else. Do you think this is true already? I think we are far from that, very far. But it's not that new, it's a very old statement actually. We have some official rules how to deal with web accessibility by the W3C, which is having this web accessibility initiative, and they created this WCAG, which is Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, telling you how to construct HTML and classes and maybe different features of your website so that they will be accessible, especially for screen readers. But there is much more to think about than just screen readers, and you will see it in the end of the talk. In Germany, these rules led to the so-called BITV, which is a short term for Barrierefreie Informationstechnik-Verordnung, which is a typical German word, I think. It's barrier-free information technology rules in a way. So this has been implemented in the early 2000s, And there was a deadline for the first version in 2005, which led to a huge accessibility hype in Germany. Everybody was thinking about accessibility, and we need to get all these official governmental websites up and running, and we have to remove all this dynamic HTML stuff that we did before, and we do basically flat design without too much functionality, but make it accessible so that we will stick to these rules. It has a new version 2.0, which had a deadline in 2012. So most of the, not most, actually all of the official websites of the German government, and this is the same for almost any other country in the European Union as well, have to be accessible. Because otherwise people with disabilities can sue the government because they did not stick to their own laws. The European Union took a bit longer because there are many countries involved and they have to discuss this stuff a bit longer. So in 2012, they decided to have this directive on the accessibility of the public sector bodies' websites. Sounds pretty much the same like this German term. It's a long term. You can discuss a lot about that, but actually this does not mean that you have to get into action currently, because they have to make it a law. It's, I think it was 2017 or so, when the law will be applied to the whole European Union. The major problem is for non-governmental websites, there are no specific accessibility laws in almost every country around the world. There are some countries having disability laws for the whole public sector or for other things, but not especially for websites. So it might be the case that you can still do whatever you like with your just business websites or whatever you are creating, but you are in a gray zone, so you don't know actually what will happen when somebody decides otherwise. And there's another thing we have to think about, especially in the European Union, because in the US, for example, the current legal situation is far more restrictive than we have it here in Europe. But when we have this TTIP and all the stuff around it, and TISA and stuff like that, it might happen that we have to assimilate all these situations. So we will get even more restrictive stuff in the European Union as well. So more than 10 years after the WCAG, the BITV, and all this other stuff has been invented, web accessibility still is a legal limbo. And I mean that literally, because most of the companies try to keep their investment in accessibility as low as possible, to just stick to some of the rules, to be on the safe side in a way, and they don't think that accessibility really is a topic that you have to put on your budget. They invest a lot more in other things because many people think like that. There was a hype in 2005. Everybody said, yeah, accessibility, we need that. And after that, nobody cared anymore. And now I will tell you why you should care. Because accessibility will have a business impact. Just some numbers so that you will know what we are talking about. 285 million people are visually impaired worldwide. And visually impaired means that they are really more or less unable to see content on the website without specific tools to help them. Not just wearing those reading glasses that I do. 39 million of them are blind, which are the people using the screen readers we have been talking about. And there's another number that you should especially take care of when you are talking about the more modern websites that we're using today, because we have a lot of video content with sound, and there are 360 million people with disabling hearing loss worldwide. And this implements another problem these people have, especially when they had the hearing loss when they were born already, because then these people often have the problem that they cannot understand a more complex language. They need short sentences because they never had a real language that they are speaking. They are using their hearing disabled special symbol language. So they need a very stripped down and very easy text in a special channel maybe. And actually, there are 1 billion people with disabilities worldwide, and even some of the body disabilities will keep them away from doing things with the internet. For example, when you just have one hand and you have to type in an @ sign when you have to give your email address, and you don't have special shortcuts for that, this will already be a problem for you. So it would be nice if web forms or shops or stuff like that would consider helping these people as mandatory as well, and give you, for example, 2 fields. For the first part of the email address and the last part, and the @ sign is just there, because you don't have to type that. 190 million of these people have significant difficulties in functioning, and they have even more problems accessing internet sites or other media. It might even get as heavy as, well, the most famous disabled people you know is Stephen Hawking. So you have to use a lot of different machines helping you to get the same information as we just get when using a keyboard. So the perspective is, we are all getting older. And we had that in the digital transformation part of the keynote yesterday. With growing life expectancy, the percentage of people that will have any kind of disability will rise, not exponentially, but it will definitely rise to a very high level. I can give you some numbers. This is just Eurostat, so this is not true for the whole world, but especially for Europe. They are expecting about between 25 and 30% of the population in 2040 to be older than 65 years, which is quite a lot. And now some of you might think, yeah, I don't care because those elderly people don't use the internet anyway, because when I showed this to my grandma, she just refused to go to Facebook. But this is another statistic. It's not that new. I didn't find any data from today, but until 2010, about 35% of the 65-year-old or older people used the internet already. And this number is definitely rising because today's digital natives will be the digital seniors of tomorrow. So each one of you here in the room wants to use the internet in 30 or 40 years still because we are used to use it, but still we might have some disabilities then which we are not having to face now. But now we have the time to take care of that and change that so that the internet of tomorrow will be an internet that we can still use. Some more numbers, because actually it starts a bit earlier than just 65. Because when you take a look at my glasses, I have the so-called presbyopia, which actually means 1 billion of these people on the world have that, and 50% of them don't have reading glasses. So everyone who is just wearing these reading glasses and you just put them off and take a look at some websites, just imagine what the people going to using a PC at school, for example, or wherever they do that, will experience when they have no possibility to, for example, make the stuff larger or whatever they need. And actually this happens at the age of 40, sometimes a bit earlier, but in most of the cases around 40 or later. And it involves reduced contrast sensitivity. So the lower the contrast of a website is, the harder it will be for the people who have this presbyopia to access the content and to read actually what's on the website. And now this is the interesting number for the business people, because the income of this target group, average income, not of everybody of that group, is much higher than the income of the people who are younger. Of course, you can have YouTube videos and stuff for teens, but these teens may be the guys who are sharing a Coke in a club because they don't have enough money. And the 40-year-old guy, he has already made his career, he has a good income, he has a family, he has a house. So this is a target group which is quite interesting business-wise, so we should take care of that. So conclusion for that part is, an increasing percentage of your high-income target group is impaired in one or the other way. today already. And it will be even more in the future. And when you say, I don't care because actually I don't sell anything at the internet, because I don't run any shop or have no business on the web, because I'm a service provider for other companies, there's an interesting thing as well, which I had to experience at T-Systems when we are doing stuff for the intranet of that company. Each time you want to deploy an application, this means you have to involve the employees of these larger enterprises, because they have a so-called work council, and the work council has to approve all the applications. They check that from a legal point of view, from other point of views, and if they don't approve, you don't deploy, especially when there's one guy in the work council, which is the so-called disabled employee officer. I don't know exactly if this is a similar stuff in other countries, but I think most of the countries will have similar institutions in larger companies, so that these people check if the accessibility of such an application is met. So we are not talking about websites which are publicly accessible, but about an internet, for example. In our case, it's for about 20,000 call center agents who are using this information system. When you call them, they get the information out of the system to tell you about some contracts, some mobile phones or whatever. And we have to make sure that blind people and other people with disabilities will have the same chance to make a deal when they are talking to you and get the same information in the same time, because they are paid by number of contracts they achieved. So we have to make sure they are on the same level and the chances are the same. And if the disabled employee officer does not approve, you don't deploy and you don't get the money. Because there's a budget, and the budget will only transfer to you the agreed budget. If everything went fine, you had the deployment and they took the website and approved that it will be used in the future. And if this still did not convince you, this is an interesting number. 3,738,864 and 96 cents. I don't know exactly why they have this 96 cents. Actually, this is about the National Federation of the Blind versus Target Corporation. They had a shop system in the US which was not accessible for blind people, and they sued them for about $6 million. And this is what they got. Just for one shop not being accessible. Okay, for Target it was peanuts, because this is a huge company in the US selling stuff not just over the internet but within huge malls as well. But still, this is a high amount of money. And this might happen to smaller companies as well, because it's not depending on the size of the company, but actually on the size of the business you make with this system. So, conclusion. All these accessibility issues can have a serious business impact for both you as a service provider and your clients, because actually, even as a service provider, you might be losing your client if you didn't teach them how to deal with accessibility issues, and they will be sued in the end by using your solution. So you have to coach your clients and explain them why accessibility issues are very important. So our goals for the new distribution, as I already told you, it should not be a government package actually, but an accessibility package. And to be honest, our actual goal is to have no more separate accessibility packages. Because actually, this does not make sense at all, and I will explain to you why. We invested a lot of time in other tasks. For example, in the introduction package and other things, we have this responsive website layouts that are very much hyped during the last years. But actually, these are, in most of the cases, made for devices. We take care of smartphones, other screen sizes, tablets, desktops, whatever. But this is just a machine that we are caring about. I think last year at the conference, we had a talk by Rick van Westerden about this responsive design, which came to a similar conclusion. We should take care about humans as well, because another large amount of money is often invested in search engine optimization. Large investment in that actually, this can help with accessibility as well, because you might have some meta information, you might have semantic information incorporated into your website, so that machines helping disabled people will be able to get the information and then use it. But actually, most of the money is just invested to make your site rank better on Google. So we invested a lot of responsive design, SEO technologies, and other technical gadgets to just make our websites look fancy and have them move again. Actually, this is just a kind of wave. In the late 90s, we had this dynamic HTML stuff. Then we switched to a completely stripped down front-end output for this accessibility hype in 2005. And now we are actually again at the same point as we have been in the late 90s, with all this stuff moving around and carousels and sliders and fading in, fading out. And my proposal is that we will be in a similar situation like in 2005, when, actually at least when in 2017 the new law situation will be implemented in the European Union. So what we would like to do is we should invest at least the same amount of time and money to make these websites compatible to humans again. And to humans means to everybody, not just the people without disabilities. Because accessible websites are made for all of us, and all includes the machines, humans, devices, and robots. So if you do it right, you can have responsive layouts combined with accessibility features in just one package. So what we want to do, we already heard Robert, who will implement themes. The team around Sasha did it at the User Experience Week this year. They already decided a kind of roadmap what they want to do, because they want to base their stuff on themes, which just means that we will have a base package without actual design, but with accessibility features already implemented, similar to the stuff you saw in the talk before by Robert, so that this will already implement all these accessibility features, not just in the back end, but in the front end as well. So you have accordion elements that will just work, accessible. Tabs and all the other stuff, just implement that. And it should be more than just a showcase, but a real groundwork so that you can build upon that. Standardization is the key word, because as Benny said in the keynote of today, we have to go into one direction, and we have to define that direction, and the direction should be north, and north means in this case we have to implement everything in just one package and not provide 3 or 4 or 5 different starter packages, one with accessibility, another one with responsive design, another one with something completely different, because this will lead us to nowhere. Accessibility has to be mandatory for each project built upon that base package. And it will be just automatically implemented, because if you use a base package in themes and you build your stuff on top of that, everything which is already there will just be inherited, and you can use that. If you don't want to use a special thing about that, what we created for this package, you just disable that and you can create your own stuff on top, but you don't have to take care about these features, and you can just focus on the stuff that you want to do differently than the base package does. And of course, as Benny mentioned in the keynote as well, there needs to be documentation about best practice, because this is something that has been done with the government package already, showing the people and telling the people how things should be done. But sometimes we need more information about the reasoning. For example, explaining to the people why it makes sense to create an accordion that has links with more than open accordion or close accordion within the link. Because when you use a screen reader and tell the screen reader, just show me all the links on the page, it will just read open accordion, open accordion, open accordion, open accordion, close accordion, which is just no information at all for the blind guy using this screen reader and your website. Just one example. So we have to define rules to explain people how this accessibility stuff actually works, not just on the technical side, but on the editor side as well. And there's a good thing. This is the new stuff that happened a few days before. I have been in Pisa and presented themes to the Italian community, and they just told me, hey, we have a budget application. We want to make the core, we want to implement accessibility features into the core, even testing of accessibility in the code. And they actually were a bit afraid that we will be enemies now because we had a budget application as well about the same topic. And I said, hey, this is open source. Actually, we are talking about a double size of a team trying to do the same stuff. Let's join forces and let's do things together. So this is what we want to do. We are forming a larger team based on the roadmap that has been created by Sasha and his team in 2015 on the User Experience Week in 2015, and we will just combine the budget applications. When you take a look at the Forge list of applications now, they will still be separate, because actually this happened just a few days ago. Now we have to sit together, write something new, and present that before the actual voting will take place. But these budget applications will then be removed and replaced with a larger one for the larger team. And this will then be an international project, because the Italian guys will take over the technical part and create the stuff, for example, for the testing. And we will focus on the stuff about themes and packages on the lower level that you can build upon. The goal is to prepare solutions during several sprints and then meet at the User Experience Week 16, which will be from 9th of April to 16th of April at the same place, again in Vestenburg, Upper Harz, Germany. The website is already on and you can already apply. I think T3 Batman already did. Thank you for that. So if you want to join us and do something together with the teams about that topic, you can do that. If you don't want to join us at the User Experience Week, you can still join us. So if this does sound like a plan to you, then feel free to contact us and join and support the project. So these are the things you can do for the project. You can sponsor specific features, because with the budget application, in most of the cases, we will get maybe a bit of work time sponsored, but most of the stuff will be enabling costs, hotels, travel costs, and stuff like that. So you can sponsor features. You can sponsor a ready-made design theme, like some companies already did. I think Robert already did that with his company. Jochen Weiland did so as well. So actually, when these themes are already built on the theme base that we are currently providing, we will make sure that the accessibility features will be just there out of the box. But still, you can implement more stuff within a special theme that we can then use and present together with this government package. And of course, you can sponsor a participant for the User Experience Week, because especially when people are freelancers, for them it is a double financial problem when they go to such a code sprint, because they are not paid for the work they do there, and they don't earn money because they cannot work for their clients. So for them it's a bit more difficult than for people who are employed and maybe sent to the User Experience Week because currently they don't have too many things to do in their company. So you can sponsor people by either sending them to the User Experience Week or give us money so that they can be paid in a way and can work with a head free of thinking about the financial situation. And of course you can develop themes as soon as the accessibility-based package is ready. Maybe host a code sprint if you like, so that you will be involved in the development process and see what's going on and can maybe take influence on that. Or just join the team and see what you can do. Maybe we can find a job for you that fits your skill levels. So to get in contact, you should come to our Slack channel. Everybody knows what Slack is, because this has been introduced by the TYPO3 core team as the communication channel in the TYPO3 community. If you're not on Slack already, you have to register first, but it's a kind of auto-registration that will send you an email then, and then go to the channel. You can email me at info@cybercraft.de. You can contact me on Twitter, or maybe Ivano Luberti, who is the leader of the Italian team. You can contact him on Twitter as well. And there's one more thing. Vote for the budget application as soon as it is available and as soon as the voting starts, because we will need your votes to convince the expert advisory board that this is a good thing and that we should get the budget that we applied for. Any questions?
First of all, thank you, Yo. And now, are there any questions? You all want to go to lunch break, right?